What are you doing? Hey guys, listen, before I get the comments down below, yes, I know this video is pretty late. I've been having some stuff going on in my personal life, which by the way is personal life. Say hi to my cat. His name is Jasper. Then I can finally get this video out. So I hope you guys do enjoy. If you could, please leave a like, maybe subscribe, boost that algorithm, because I'm sure this video won't perform as well as my other ones. So I'd greatly appreciate that. Also, I just recently launched an ice shaker with advanced.gg because of you guys that have been supporting the sponsorship and using my code. So first link in the description, you can go pick one of these up, use my code for a discount and all that. Thank you guys so much for making this possible. But without further ado, enjoy the video. The dawning 2022 is finally upon us, and by that I mean it was upon us like 5 days ago, but completely ignore that fact because today I'm finally releasing my official loot guide for the entire event. Now today we'll be going over the most effective way to farm all the loot from this event, what the best perks are for each weapon for PvE, and of course which weapons you should prioritize and why. So starting the video off, let's talk about farming, because even during my stream yesterday, there seemed to be a bit of confusion on how you go about getting god rolls on these dawning weapons. Now, as you all know, the dawning is about killing enemies, getting spirit and ingredients while doing so, and baking cookies to give NPCs in exchange for loot. Well, in the dawning of 2022, it's never been easier to get exactly what you want in terms of loot, thanks to some upgrades we can get for what is essentially just umbral focusing. Now, one of the first things I recommend once you collect a decent amount of Dawning Spirit is to go to 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the tower and buy the limited exchange ticket upgrade. This will allow you to turn in the gifts in return that you get from baking cookies for NPCs. You can turn those in for a specific weapon from Ada, given that you've already gotten it before. Now, while you're at it, you can go and pick up the 2 upgrades next to this one, as this will allow you to get the maximum amount of perks on each weapon you earn, giving you a much higher chance of receiving the roll you want. For example, here is the 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏 pulse rifle I got on live stream yesterday, and had it not been for those 2 upgrades, I never would have gotten these bottom perk columns, which allowed me to come away with the roll that I want. Those upgrades are very important, so make sure that you pick them up. Now, if you're wanting to get as many gifts in return as possible via giving cookies to NPCs, you're gonna need a lot of Dawning Essence to actually bake those cookies. The best method possible for this is checkpoint farming the Investigation Witch Queen mission with a buddy. Get to the checkpoint at the gate, which is right before the end of the mission, save that checkpoint on one character, and load into the mission allowing your buddy to join on you, and then swap characters and join back in order to keep that checkpoint for repeat runs. You'll be fighting Hive during this farm, so make sure that you do so with arc weapons, so that you'll be able to get both the chitin powder ingredient as well as the electric flavor ingredient to make cookies for Variks when you're done. Now that you know how to farm cookies and optimize your dawning weapon drops, let's talk about the weapons themselves and why you may or may not want them. Oh, I probably should explain the origin trait though that's going to come on these weapons. This year, every dawning weapon that drops will come with the origin trait called Dawning Surprise. What it says is rapidly defeating targets will award a dawning gift, and more powerful targets will count as more than one enemy. Now, this is worded horribly because what it means by dawning gift is essentially just a purple cube that flies out of an enemy and lays on the floor. These will lie there for about 10 seconds before disappearing, and they will instantly heal you whenever you pick them up, even if you're currently taking damage. Now, I'm not quite sure how great these are, considering you need to, really be on the lookout for them to not miss out, but they perhaps are pretty good on more close ranged options like swords. All right, onto the weapons. So kicking things off, let's talk about the pulse that I was showing you guys earlier, the lightweight frame Stay Frosty Stasis Pulse Rifle. If you're a fan of the 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 back when Witch Queen dropped, then you're probably going to love this thing as well. When taking a look at the perks, however, instead of focusing on ability energy like the 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 did, it actually prioritizes super energy by allowing you to get Thresh in that first column, with the second column featuring 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, Desperado, which I think is the first time we've seen on this archetype, as well as Adaptive and Headstone. Now, Thresh is the only real option you have in that first column, and I believe this is one of the only times we've seen Thresh in the first column on a primary weapon, which is cool. And for the second, I'd personally go with either Headstone or Desperado. This pulse feels phenomenal as yet another weapon that you can pair with a nutty stasis build, and ever since the full auto setting that Bungie added with this season's update, so you only need to hold down the trigger, this pulse just feels like a slightly slower rapid fire frame, which I really like. Out of all the weapons that released this year, this is the one that I'd prioritize over the rest, as it's a very unique option that's only going to come around annually. Up next from the Stay Frosty, let's talk about a machine gun that I used to be a pretty big fan of, but not really anymore, and that's the Avalanche. Now, there once was a time that the Avalanche was the best solar machine gun in the game, but since last year, we've gotten more options, and Avalanche has kind of gone by the wayside. However, it did get some really good perks with this update, although I'm not sure if I could classify it as a must-have weapon. Taking a look here in the first column, we got picks like auto-loading, ambitious assassin, and subsistence, with the final column having swash, adrenaline, incandescent, and target lock. Now, I'd probably recommend a roll of any of the first column perks we talked about combined with target lock, as that's the only one you really should pursue. Incandescent in the final column is cool, but fixed odds exist and can be crafted with that perk enhanced. If you're a free-to-play player, however, and you don't own duality, then subsistence incandescent would probably be the play since fixed odds isn't available to you. Otherwise, target lock is what makes this machine gun stand out, so I would go that route. Up next from Avalanche, let's take a look at another old favorite, and that is going to be the Cold Front 750 kinetic SMG. Now, in a world where we have so much competition among SMGs, I can't justify spending the entirety of the Dawning farming for one of these, since there are just so many great permanent options that are out there that are going to be available to you at any time. That said, Cold Front is still a solid pick, and if you do come across a god roll, then you might want to keep it. If you get the right perks as well as the right barrel, mag, and masterwork to help out some of the fairly awful stats, it's pretty good. So taking a look at the main perks though, we have picks like Unrelenting, Subsistence, and Stats for All in the first column, with Rampage, One for All, and Frenzy in the second. All those perks are great picks and will work well on the Cold Front, but for me personally, even if I did get a great roll on this SMG, I'd probably just stick to options like Prolonged Engagement or Submission, because their archetypes just feel much better, and they offer much more variety in what they can do, / the perks they can get. Plus, Submission you can get, it's craftable, so you don't exactly need to farm for a god roll, you can just get one naturally. Now, moving on from Cold Front, let's talk about what is probably the worst weapon on the list, and that's going to be the GLACIOCLASM fusion rifle. Now, while many people adore this weapon because of its unique perk roll, it's still worse at its job compared to so many other energy options out there that running this weapon is just a waste in my opinion. GLACIOCLASM is most known for its ability to roll Subsistence or Slide Shot with Reservoir Burst, and it just absolutely sucks in practice. It's a really annoying way to go about ad clearing enemies, as it's completely reliant on you having backup ammunition in order to even proc the explosion to begin with. Compare this to Forbearance, which continues to be one of, if not the strongest weapon in PvE, and it completely negates the reason for running GLACIOCLASM outside of maybe just for fun or niche builds. It's really cool that it can do what it can do, but there are so many weapons that just do it by default, like Forbearance, and you don't need to put in any effort to actually ad clear. It makes it the easiest to use weapon possible. Now, lastly, for this list, we make our way to the ZEPHYR Adaptive Sword, and unlike the weapon before this one, the ZEPHYR is something that you actually should keep on your radar. It is either one of or the only stasis sword in the game to exist right now, or at least that you can get, and you absolutely want it for the cold steel roll that it can have. If we take a look at the perks, in the first column, we have Relentless Strikes, Thresh, Unrelenting, and Wellspring, with the final column having surrounded Whirlwind Blade, Chain Reaction, and Cold Steel. Relentless Cold Steel is the perk roll that you're going to want here, as this sword is an excellent pick for any stasis enjoyer out there, but honestly it's just a great sword all around. Being able to freeze and shatter targets by merely hitting them with your sword is fantastic, and with the right build it can be even better. With all that said though, ladies and gentlemen, and with all the dawning weapons out of the way, that is going to do it for today's video. I definitely want to apologize for the video being so late in the week, but I hope you all enjoyed it regardless, and thank you so much for watching. I also want to give some special thanks to not only those of you guys that did watch to the end, definitely help support me, but also to my Patreon supporters and YouTube members, with Patreon being Admis, Vile, John, Noel, Serenity, and Boomer Noob in Tier 2, as well as Austin, Cinco, and Gloomy in Tier 3, as well as my Tier 2 YouTube members being Bluesman, Clear, Brian, Angel, Ben McClellan, Hank the Tank, Mayhem Gaming, Peak, and Serenity once more. With that said, thank you all so much for watching once again, and I'll see you guys next time.